Brexit is a hot debate. We are expecting lots of changes. Now, one topic that has been debated the most is the new immigration system post-Brexit 2021. Now, some announcements have already been made. So let's speak to Kashif Majeed, Director of Aston Broke Solicitors, who has been practicing law for last 21 years. Kashif, welcome to this platform. I believe some of the announcements have already been made.
Hi Gunjan, pleasure as always to see you again on the show. Yes, you're absolutely right. There has been new immigration rules which have been published early this year by the Home Secretary. Now, those changes are going to make a complete overhaul of the immigration system as we know it. Now, previously, there were job options under RQF level 3, 4 and 5, which you could get work permits for, and tier 2, but that all changed in 2012. Now, with the new proposals, the government have made drastic changes, and that includes allowing tier 2 now for RQF level 3 job roles. And RQF level 3 is equivalent to A-level qualifications. Now, what that means, you can now sponsor someone under tier 2 in an RQF level 3 job role. Now, that's not to be considered low-skilled work. It's still skilled work. But what we don't know at the moment, because the government have not yet announced it, and I think this will be later this year, is what occupation codes or what job roles will fall into that category, i.e. RQF level 3, RQF level 4, RQF level 5. We have a 6 list already now currently, but we do not know what job role will fall under that. But early indications are that there will be positions such as, if we take the healthcare sector, senior carers, where there was a massive demand over the last few years, and that's been recognized by the government, and therefore we will be able to bring those occupation codes back into tier 2. Similarly, there'll be other job roles which were previously out of tier 2, which can now be sponsored from the 1st of January 2021.
Now, the EU citizens who are already living in UK, they want to know, will they be affected post-Brexit?
And let me be clear on this, it's not EU nationals that are already in the UK as of the 31st of December 2020. Those EU nationals will stay on their current either EU settlement schemes, that's either pre-settled if they've not done 5 years in the UK, or they'll be on the settled scheme, which means they've already got settlement in the UK because they've done 5 years in the UK. So please, I want viewers to understand that this does not affect people that are already in the UK. These are for new EU nationals entering the UK from the 1st of January 2021. They will be subject to exactly the same point-based system as non-EU migrants have been for many years. But it's now that due to Brexit, the EU nationals will also be subject to the same restrictions and the same stipulation, the same rules, which is the job that's on offer has to be the appropriate salary, the appropriate job role, the English language requirement, and then obviously the salary and the maintenance requirements. So yes, it is going to change for EU nationals, but only those that are entering on or after the 1st of January 2021.
UK has always been an attractive country to come and work. Now, post-Brexit, what will be the requirement of EU citizens for them to come and work?
The requirement will be as it is for non-EU nationals now. So under the point-based system, you will be given or assigned what we call a certificate of sponsorship, which is the document which confirms what job role you've been offered, what the salary is, what location you'll be working at for that sponsor or that employer, and then whether that employer has maintained or certified maintenance of your funds, which is the prerequisite money you need to have in your bank account for 90 days before you enter the UK on that visa. Because the Home Office have always implemented those rules of maintenance, but if you're an A-rated sponsor, you can certify those maintenance, and therefore on the certificate of sponsorship, you do not then need to have in your bank account for the last 90 days a specific requirement of funds. So once you satisfy those requirements of the certificate of sponsorship, and then you apply for what we call a tier 2 visa. That's a skilled visa process. That's an application form which is online. That application is completed for the main applicant and any dependents. and that's then assessed by the visa centre, and then you get your entry clearance into the UK, as would anybody else. I mean, obviously, previously to Brexit, EU nationals were able to have free movement of workers, so free movement rights to come in. They do not need a visa to enter the UK, but that process will now change, where you will have to go through the same processes and procedures if, like non-EUs, when you're applying for a visa to enter the UK, you need to have all of this done prior to entry, not on arrival as it used to be before, or you just show your national ID card from, say, Bulgaria or Prague, and now you'll be subject to the same entry clearance rules as those non-EU migrants before them.
Now, you just mentioned that there's a minimum salary requirement. So, Kashif, can you give us a specific number?
Minimum salary, which currently stands at £30,000 if you're going to be sponsored under Tier 2. But there's a caveat to the 30,000. If you're a new entrant, i.e. you're either 26 or under, then you can, what we call, take advantage of the new entrant rate, which is lower depending on which job code that you fall under. But the Home Office are now proposing that that's minimum salary requirement of 30,000, which I think was set pretty high in the first instance, is being reduced to 25,600. But I think even at 25,600, that salary bracket is still too high for certain job roles. And I think there will be some challenges, there'll be some political lobbying to challenge that, either in Parliament or at the Migration Advisory Committee with sectors providing data to suggest that certain occupations should be on the shortage occupation and therefore salary should be even lower than the 25,600. But the government have not made any adjustments or any rules in relation to that at the moment. But the current salary stands at 25,600, which is obviously better than the 30,000 that we were originally at the moment, which currently stands in law now.
So, Kashif, are you suggesting that every single skilled worker in this country are working more than 30 grand salary? Now, there might be some company who has a demand for skilled workers, but may not be able to afford it. What then?
I think if they're not, they're in serious trouble because the minimum requirement, depending upon the job role, would be that the employers must pay the appropriate salary for that specific SOC code. So, for example, nurses have to be paid a specific salary, around £23,000. Generally, obviously, nurses are paying a lot more than that, but there will be other job roles where the salary needs to be 30,000, and employers are probably struggling to pay that salary, but the staff are required, and therefore they have to pay them that salary. And I know there's an argument here. I think which something that you may be alluding to in the question you asked me, is that there are some employers unable to afford to pay that salary, and employers have to understand if they are looking to not pay that salary or circumventing ways in which to pay that salary, then the Home Office will be pretty strict when they come to their checks. And if that is something that materializes, then they'll risk losing their sponsor license or downgrading of their sponsor license, which is obviously not any sponsor wishes to go down that road. But the other thing is the £30,000 salary. There's another issue, I think, where employers have certainly raised it with us, that if the salary is at 30,000 for a specific job role for overseas staff, but resident staff are being paid 23,000, for example, because there's no minimum requirement for salary, then there's a discrimination. So the resident worker, if they found out that this overseas worker is being paid £30,000 and I'm only getting 23,000 for the same job, there's a potential claim for discrimination. And I think that's something the government needs to be aware of. But I think the rule's always been that the Home Office override any employment law rules on the basis that these rules have been set in place specifically to ensure that we get the right candidates into the right job roles.
Okay, let's keep the salary aside. Let's talk about the skills. So what are the skill level required to be considered?
The skill level has always been at the moment, that's RQF level 6. Now that's graduate level, but it's been set at that level by the government because that's where they feel the level should be set for skilled workers to enter the UK because they only want skilled workers. They do not want low skilled or unskilled labour, which was previously applicable, and we could get sponsorship for those roles, but currently the Home Office has stopped that. Now, with the developments with the new immigration system for 2021, they have recognised that we do need skilled workers, which may not be at RQF level 6, and therefore they may be at RQ level 5, 4, or 3. Now, I mentioned earlier, RQF level 3, which is the lowest level, is A-level equivalent, and that would mean that it would open the doors to different occupations which were previously closed to migrants to come to the UK under Tier 2. So, I mean, that is something which is welcome. That is something I think is required in different sectors. But as I said earlier, the government have not announced yet what those job roles will be. It'll be interesting to find out what those job roles and those SOC codes, that's the occupation codes, that the Home Office are looking at to fall into those categories of RQF level 3, 4, and 5. But I think generally, overall, it's going to make things a lot easier for migrants to come into the UK in different job roles which were previously unachievable for them. So, for example, if they're all managerial level and senior positions, but now at RQF level 3 and 4, you're going to have lower positions which are going to be opening up to Tier 2. And I think that's something that's definitely welcome within different sectors across the country.
So in the future, there's a possibility that a low-skilled worker can come to UK and work.
Yes, yeah. I don't think the Home Office like the term low-skilled, but you're absolutely right. Lower skill level definitely are going to be open up to coming to the UK. But there's been some release of some publications and documents to suggest that if they do allow these people in RQF level 3 and 4 and 5 under Tier 2, there may be something which the Home Office may implement, and that is going to be a problem, which is they will only allow these people to come into the UK for 12 months, and then they have to return back to their country for a period of 12 months before they can re-enter again.
Now Kashif, a skilled worker comes to UK, get trained, get used to the system, get adjusted to the society for 12 months. Now then, 12 months later, they are told, thank you very much, you can go back home for next 12 months. Now, is that a right step forward?
Well, I think any legal challenge, we have to show a few things. One is that it's unlawful. And then secondly, we need to show that it's irrational. And I think those two milestones that we need to satisfy in order to show that something is unlawful or irrational are set very high. And the other thing is, if we're able to do that, that has to be done within a 3-month window of the Home Office releasing that rule or that law. In healthcare, for example, if you're looking at a senior carer, they will not be able to achieve the continuity of care for their vulnerable residents, because if you're bringing someone as a senior carer for 12 months only, they get all the training development within those 12 months. They just become accustomed to the way they work here, and they become accustomed to the vulnerable residents. They form a relationship, and then they have to leave. I mean, there's no continuity of care. That will definitely affect the sector, and I think in different job roles as well. Whereas in some sectors, it might work. They may only want people for 12 months, and then they can take on a new recruit for another 12 months. But this all remains to be seen whether this will happen. And yes, we're happy to challenge, and there's nothing stopping anyone challenging it under human rights or any other legislation, which they deem fit. But there's always an option to challenge any decision the Home Office may come. As a firm, we've been doing that for many years.
So Kashif, what are the other routes available?
Other routes, if you don't fall under Tier 2, then, you have Tier 5, which is the temporary workers, the Youth Mobility Scheme, which used to be the old workers, holiday makers visa, people from the Commonwealth, up to the age of 21 to come in and work in the UK for 2 years. And that Tier 5 is still available. You can still come in. But then that's restricted to Commonwealth countries. So therefore, you can't always rely upon that as a route to enter if you're from, say, Pakistan, India, which at the moment are not on that particular list. Then you've got your Ministry of Religion visas. You've got other visas which are, your family settlement visas. you've got human rights, you've got family members of EU nationals. There's a whole array of different groups that you can come under, but everything is subject to assessment, and therefore it's very important that you take legal advice before you decide which route is applicable to you and which is best suited for your own personal circumstances.
Thank you, Kashif, for coming on this platform and sharing your valuable knowledge. My name is Gunjan Hazarika, a television producer and a director. My mission is to go and seek the answers to your questions. During these unprecedented times, I believe information will play a crucial role. I'm going to create a lot of videos and go and find the answers to your questions. So all you have to do is share this video with your friends and family. Let them know that this platform exists and you can ask your questions to me. We are on Facebook page, also on YouTube channel. So let's go and reach the people who needs us the most. This is your right. This is the platform. So let's connect.